Hi everyone, my name's Pieta Valentine. I've written 2 books, The Resident's Voice from a Dementia Unit and The Resident's Rise from a Dementia Unit. Today's session is on how jigsaw puzzles bring concentration and focus in a dementia unit. And they most certainly do. Now I hadn't realised how much actually, because when I was working at the last dementia facility that I was at, we were really promoting reading and reading material with magazines and the newspaper and, coffee table books, whatever. We had a little library going, and the focus and concentration really improved with that a lot for the residents. But there was one man there, a lovely man. He was fantastic. He was very kind and very good to the elderly women, especially those that were unwell. But he'd been sort of a businessman all his life, and busy as, since the age of 15 he'd been working, his partner said, and he'd had successful businesses, but he'd never been a reader. So, he was working so much he didn't have time to read. So it was actually becoming difficult to know as to what activity we could give him to help improve his focus and concentration. I mean, he was depressed at this stage. Later on he improved markedly, but so we just wanted to find out an activity that could work for him to garner his concentration, to hopefully give him a different focus so as to be able to alleviate his depression, which was really dragging him back. And it was actually his partner, his wife, who came up with the idea of bringing in jigsaw puzzles for him. I don't think he'd worked at doing jigsaw puzzles much before he came into the unit. I didn't actually ask that, but it seemed pretty new to him when he started it anyway. But he'd always been the type of guy who loved building things, and whenever he talked, it was all about, building a solution, knowing the problem, what are the building blocks to be able to create a way forward on this. This is the way he spoke. So he loved and his wife said he loved working with machines, in cars, not engines, not machines, and engines and machines. He had a big car yard, so he was always sort of working, doing all the mechanical work. Anyway, so this transferred to this jigsaw puzzle stuff, because when she brought in the first jigsaw puzzle, Duck to Water loved it. It was a big jigsaw puzzle. It was one of the world, the first one. So maybe 150 pieces, big jigsaw puzzle. Got it out on the table. She was there. Cappuccino for him and her. Muffin, jigsaw puzzle, focus. That was it. He loved it. He'd spend 2-3 hours on these one jigsaw puzzle, and it just helped him so much in terms of improving his focus, his presence, his concentration. As he was working on this jigsaw puzzle for a good 2-3 hours, he was separated from the depression that he was having. There was no drag back. He was just completely in the focus, in the present moment. You could just see it on his face. He just loved it. It was wonderful for the wife because, of course, it was so concerning for her. They had a very good relationship. So concerning for her, seeing him so depressed, But with the jigsaw puzzle, he started really lightening up. And actually, it had so many side benefits, those jigsaw puzzles. She bought in heaps in the end, all sorts. But from the start, he'd sit there, then his good next door neighbour friend, a lady, he was good friends with her and also good friends with the wife. I think they actually knew each other from outside the unit. Families had known each other, so their families had known each other, so there was a connection there. Anyway, she'd join in always with the jigsaw puzzle as well. And then other residents started to come along and not necessarily join in, but observe and encourage. And, oh, you're doing very well there, and the North Island's looking good, and you haven't got much to go now, and, comment all the way. And even more so, what happened in the end was that if it was, say, another piece of a car or a black, there was a black stallion horse, which was a favourite, a beautiful horse. And it took quite a while to get that one. I think it was even more pieces than the previous one. So it took quite a while to get it going. So if the wife would have to leave, she'd just leave it at the nurse's station. And this man started to get the prize place sitting in the nurse's station, which hadn't been done before, because he was so focused and so concentrated. No trouble. In fact, he was an asset. And he was an asset. He became like the resident secretary, because when relatives used to come in, they were never sure whether he was, you know, legit a staff member at the front desk or a patient, you know, because he'd say, charge nurses over there, go over there, there she is. It was quite funny, really. Anyway, I mean, the village manager didn't know all of this, because this, in the weekends, no one else is much about. But anyway, he played this fantastic role, and he'd sit there at that jigsaw puzzle. And of course, he got to know all the nurses through it, because, you know, nursing is a very high stress activity all day, isn't it? It's physically so demanding, mentally so demanding, all that medication, and you can't get anything wrong. You've got to write it up on the charts. Everything has to be accurate. If the computers go down, still you have to do it. How are you going to get home when the computers are down, you know, which they often were, on and on. But anyway, if they could get 2 to 3 minutes with this man doing the jigsaw puzzle of the black stallion, so to speak, or, you know, New Zealand and all the beautiful, you know, ocean around it, getting the pieces in place. Very good for the focus and presence of the staff. You know, they could chill out for a few minutes, and they used to love it. So this guy, he got to know the staff, he had company, he was focusing on this jigsaw. The residents enjoyed it. They'd just walk by the nurse's station and peer over and give comment and stand there if they wanted to for a bit of time to be part of the activity. And it actually, what happened actually was a lot of the other relatives clicked onto this and started bringing in jigsaw puzzles as well as other activities for their mother. And it became a whole hive of activity, you know, with the library and the activities and the jigsaw puzzles, and then it went into colouring in and artwork. It was just fantastic. And so from there, the whole community flourished, really. But the jigsaw puzzle played a big part because it was very good for the men. The men that didn't read and didn't like activities, it was something that they could all do. And the men themselves would often sit at a table. You'd have to get the jigsaw puzzle out, and the big deal was not making sure that the puzzle, you know, the jigsaw puzzle pieces didn't go missing. That was actually a big task, because they didn't like doing a jigsaw puzzle if even one piece was missing, because it just wasn't right, was it? In fact, that black stallion one piece did go missing. No one ever wanted to do it again, because how can you do a proper jigsaw puzzle when there's one piece missing? Even though you explained, well, it's lost and we can't do anything about it. Never mind, they weren't going to do it. So you had to keep track of all those pieces, which is another subject in itself. That's why those jigsaw puzzles that are they're in sort of cardboard cases, and you can put the cover on the top and stack them all up, are by far the best, because otherwise, if it hasn't got that arrangement, pieces go flying here and there, and it's very hard to retrieve them. So try and get those jigsaw puzzles that flip out of cardboard cases, and they've actually got the picture at the back of them, so the person can look at the picture as they hold, you know, as it sort of stands up there, and then they can do the jigsaw puzzle within the cardboard surrounds. And then when the puzzle's completely done, just bring down the top of it, stack the others on top. Perfect. And put the name of your resident big black felt tip on it as well, so people know that it's yours, but you can keep it in the wardrobe of the resident's room, you know, and 1 or 2, not all of them, because, you know, they may go missing as well, but at least you've got something on hand, and keep the rest at home. But yeah, so time's up. Thank you for the likes, subscriptions and everything. Thank you.